Uh-huh.
That's right.
Like biscuits.
Straight out of the oven.
Gobble damn cookies up, yo.
Word.
Gotta have them bickies.
Cookie Monster rates us. G'day. It's Chris.
And Glen.
And we're back with Life Biscuits.
Yes, we are, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for those who have tuned in through episodes 0, 1 and 2.
Yeah, we're just going to, before we dive into it, we just want to have a quick chat about a couple of things. We re-listened to the episodes before we post, and we just want to make a couple of revisions and comments on some of the things. But to kick us off, firstly, thank you so much for all the people who have gotten back in touch with us, provided us feedback, commented. We love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So please keep that coming in.
Definitely.
More downloads. I've just checked the stats. We've got some people from Northern Ireland. The dude from Bavaria, or girl, sorry, has also downloaded an episode again. So a bit of consistency there.
There's Finland.
Finland, yeah, that's
Finland.
right.
Who's in Finland?
Nothing from Northern America. So, the USA buddies out there, hit us up. Check us out.
Definitely. Now, speaking of North America, I do need to apologise. Last week, I allegedly sung some what I thought was Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
Wow, it wasn't.
A simple mistake to make.
Yeah, I believe it was Mark Cohen.
Yeah.
Thanks to those listeners, the Springsteen fans out there. My bad.
Yeah.
Proof of the point that I really don't follow Bruce, but thanks to those who sent me links on some of his work.
Another thing we want to talk about is we are rolling out an email mailing list. We've got currently Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and sometimes some of our posts may be missed or they might not pop up in your newsfeed. And we think the stuff that we're doing is super important, and we know that you want to hear it. And I think the best way for you guys to get that is through a mailing list. That way there's no trawling through the feed to find our quotes and whatnot. So we would love for you to jump onto a website, sign up, or look onto our Facebook page, and sign up to our mailing list.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be extensive.
No.
We're aiming for a 1 minute munch on this email list. So you're going to get in
real
there
quick,
and it'll be a scan. You'll get a growth point, something to kind of longer term build on over the week or longer. A quote to munch on, something that we found really good, and then finally an action point, something that you can do immediately, like right when you're reading it. So a 1 minute sort of read, and that
snack-sized wisdom, large-sized impact. That's what we're about.
Definitely. So keep your eye out. Please subscribe, and that will do us, and we believe you, a big favour. Now, getting into this biscuit condition. All right, that's what we're looking at today in episode 3. We'll talk about longevity and that we want longevity. I know Martin Luther King said it's not about longevity, it's about the quality of your life. But Life Biscuits is about both of those things. It's about trying to increase the quality of our days, and then trying to, be around for as long as possible. And that's what the Condition Biscuit is all about.
Mens sana in corpore sano.
Oh, are you Latin, Lowy?
I know. No, I am not. But essentially, that's our little teaser quote that we posted up onto our socials, and it is a healthy mind and a healthy body. And that is what Condition is about. Yeah,
definitely. It's not just the physical. We need to get through life with both a sound mind and a sound body. So please tune into each of the letters that we will go through in our little acronym. Because chasing personal excellence, every day, it requires a steadfast vessel, Lowy, that it needs to withstand the rigours of time. Life will take its toll, and we need to be ready.
Yeah, look, my goal, 100. I'm getting to 100. I want triple digits, and Condition's going to help me get there.
Definitely. Now, there is some repeats in this episode with the gratitude journaling stuff, which we covered and through the blog. And thanks to those who have got in touch about enjoying that. We did film this a couple of months ago, so a little bit of a double up there, but we believe it is definitely worthwhile.
A couple other things to note. In our REST acronym, there's some, like that field is still developing, and we've said get more sleep. All right, get better quality sleep.
Yeah.
And we've talked about some REM cycles in there. So tune out in terms of the developing field that sleep is. It's also, I think we can all agree that having more rest is better.
Definitely.
And then on intellect, I think you talk about, learning a guitar song
right,
as
yeah,
one of the dunks. Anyway, stay tuned, folks. That's going to be one of our little special bonus podcast episodes. It'll just be the cover that Glenbo plays.
Pardon me. That's embarrassing. Yeah, okay. I'm going to ready to up my reps on that one. We do mention, like, in an instant, some gut health stuff.
Yep.
And talk about developing fields. That's something that's just super interesting. But having a look at some of the microbiome stuff just today in preparation for this, they're really starting to find some big links, and I thought this was worth mentioning, between the state of our gut and the state of our mind, and how our gut health actually can directly influence mental illness. And I thought that was pretty incredible.
Well, there's more, gut biome cells than you cells, right?
Oh, I mean...
Yeah. And you are what you eat.
That's something that I think we would both love to be on season 1, just to
for sure
get into the awesome stuff that the human body is and all about it. Now, in the dunk, we do mention Hugh Jackman. I just want to say,
big man crush.
Man crush on that dude super hard. Like, my wife loves him. And I don't want to put him on a pedestal, but I am kind of. He's just a legend in my books.
Triple threat, mate.
Yeah, and we think he's almost the mascot for this condition, Biscuit, because he's obviously physically a specimen, and he seems to have a fair bit of stuff together in his mind as well. And we wanted to throw it out there because a lot of people have said, are you going to have guests on the Life Biscuits show? And we're like, brother, we'll have guests for sure beyond season 1. When we get into season 2, we'll be inviting people onto the show. And I'm just going to throw it out there, Hugh. If this ever finds your ears, son, we want Hugh Jackman on the show. So I'm
got my fingers crossed, man.
Yeah. Now, I just showed Lowy this earlier because I'm a big fan of Bluey, probably more so than my kids. Great show.
It is. And
I just showed Lowy this one little section of an episode where he was ordering ice cream for the kids after they'd conned him into it, the dad. And he was like, "No, I've got to stay in shape. I won't get any." When the kids asked him what he was getting, but then the FPOS machine was not working, and it was delaying, and you could see the tension building in Bandit's eyes before he says, "Oh, go on, give us a double chocolate extra large in a cup," and then asserts to himself that I've got a problem. And the amount of times that I've said that when it comes to food, Glen, you've got a problem, mate. And I think a few listeners out there will probably feel the same, having chatted to a few in the past about...
Yeah, quick little fun tidbit. I'm doing a research project at the moment for uni, but Australians per capita eat 121 kilograms of meat every single year.
Holy cow. Per person.
Per person, yeah. And
that's 300 odd grams a day.
Yeah, something like that. It's crazy, isn't it?
That's insane.
So, something to have a think about. We've talked about energize and the food, but there's so much more that we'd love to get into. And there's more cans of worms to open up in season 2 and further beyond, with all this stuff with like intermittent fasting and diets, calorie in, calorie out kind of stuff. So we look forward to talking more about that stuff, and we only just touch on energize. So.
Reminder to get in touch with us, and we're going to throw over to past Chris and Glen now, from a couple of months ago, as they take you through condition, biscuit number 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Life Biscuits. I'm Chris.
Snack-sized wisdom with life-sized impact. That is Chris, and I am Glen.
And we're here to bring you Life Biscuit number 3 today, which is condition.
Yep, hopefully you were with us last week when we talked about Cultivate. That was our second biscuit. And if you weren't, then feel free to go and check it out. We were talking about growing yourself. And today we're going to look specifically at our condition, not just our physical condition, but also some of our mental states as well. So again, we have some, like last week we talked about intentionality really kind of overarching that planted acronym, that we needed to be intentional about things. With condition, we really want to emphasize the point that this is about longevity.
Yeah, longevity.
You know, we want to be around longer. Obviously, there's other things to talk about there with the state of the world in 80 years' time or 100 years' time. Hopefully I can live to the big 100.
Get that letter from the Queen, baby.
Yeah.
Hopefully, oh, she'll definitely still be alive. She's a master at condition.
But it's about longevity. It's not about those short-term beach bods or whatever.
Yep.
We're really gunning for,
Just healthy,
sustainable,
prosperous,
yeah,
live long and prosper. Fuck,
yeah, that's it. So, give us the acronym, big guy.
So the acronym for condition is THRIVE, and I feel like if we hit all these spots, we will honestly thrive. Right?
We'll live a long life.
Prosperous and
Healthy life.
Yeah, healthy life. So to kick us off, T, thrive. T stands for train. We've got to really act like athletes. This event that is life, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And we've got to act like athletes. We can't have off seasons where we're like, I don't have to really perform or live, because every single day is life. And we've got to make sure our body, right? We got to train. We got to look after it like an athlete. This Olympic cycle that we're in, life, is your whole lifespan.
Yeah. And
not just, we talk about longevity and lifespan, but also we want to focus on health span too, because health span is the time that you're actually physically healthy and able to do what you want to do. And if you focus on training will increase your health span.
You want to be one of those blokes on the news who's like, here's 95-year-old Chris Lau in the Masters 100 meters, and you're just like,
Exactly.
Everyone's like, look at that guy. How cute.
I was inspired recently. I was watching the US Open Volleyball Championships, and they had age groups up to like under 8, like 80s. There's like, there's old dudes, 80-year-olds playing 6-man aside. They don't have hops at all.
Right,
but they play some good volleyball. They've obviously trained and continued to maintain that exercise habit, and they're reading plays and they're putting themselves in the position. There's nothing super athletic or flashy about it, but
they're 80. But
that is super impressive that they're able to.
Like, I'm feeling the pinch at 36. Double that.
So
good job, guys.
You want to be one of those guys. I want to be playing volleyball when I'm 80.
Well, it's funny because maybe I will, but I'm in a phase at the moment where I'm like, when I stopped playing really because I would finish a match and I'm like, I would judge the success of the performance based on whether I got injured or not. I'd be like, I didn't get injured, that was a successful match, But I think acting as if as well. So, not just going, I need to exercise. We've got this mentality of I'm not an athlete, but I need to exercise because it's the right thing to do. Rather than going, wait a second, I am like, my body is this vehicle that I've got to last me, and I need to take care of it. Therefore, I shall train. I've got training this afternoon. What are you training for? I'm training for life, baby.
100%. Yeah, life. Olympic cycle of life. Gold medal for me, baby. I can't stress this enough, but national guidelines, 60 minutes a day, moderate exercise. And I know people aren't really, like, I can't say I'm hitting 60 minutes every single day, but aiming for something. And we'll talk about snack size fitness right now. You don't have to do 60 minutes in one hit. All right, you can chunk those up into little snack size fitness sessions. Glenbo's got a great little technique for the photocopier. Whenever he's waiting for photocopying to get done, push-ups, squats, whatever it is, and just bust them out.
That's it. Man, I only really discovered the snack size fitness thing really when we started to go through Life Biscuits and the concept was snack sized wisdom with life sized impact. and I was struggling to find time to train or go and exercise. And so now, anytime I've got a moment, and I know I've got a bunch of seconds spare here and there, and I just make use of those seconds. And it's been so good. Like, I've been through these little phases before, and I've certainly worked up to it. In the past, it's been very much a just do one, just drop and give me one push-up. Like, sometimes I get in a state where I'm like, I just can't do 20, and so I wouldn't. But I'm like, just do one. That's all you got to do. And I end up doing more than one. But knowing that one's all I have to do to kind of tick that box in my mind, I'll just go down, give one push-up, and then I'll, do more. And so that's kind of expanded into more snacking on fitness. And I do now squats, pull-ups, and push-ups. 3 great kind of, general exercises, which you don't need much equipment for. Granted, the pull-ups you do, but I'm lucky to have a playground out the back, so when the girls are playing, usually after dinner, doesn't take long to get some reps in there. Man, it's just been so good. I'm not gonna lie, like it's I feel just so much better.
And it doesn't, like, I know the national guidelines is 60 minutes, but anything is better than nothing. And we were talking about the program where
fit in 6 minutes a day.
6 minutes,
a week. Fit in 6 minutes a week.
Exactly.
I think that was what's called. I think it was a Catalyst show. Amazing.
Yeah.
So essentially, long story short, this woman did an experiment to prove the physical fitness benefits and physiological adaptations of the body in training for 6 minutes.
Just high intensity.
High intensity. She did 4 30-second reps 3 times a week. So yes, there's some recovery time in between the reps, and she'll do a little bit of a warm up, right? But it was essentially 30 seconds, 90% plus intensity, rest for a bit, 30 seconds, rest, 30 seconds, rest, 30 seconds. So do your math, that's 2 minutes of exercise. And she did it 3 times a week. That's a total of 6 minutes. Over the course of the experiment, which I think was 3 or 4 months, she had greater mitochondrial function and efficiency than someone who did an endurance program over the same time. And she had a greater increase in VO2 max. And I'm just like, damn.
And that's 6 minutes too. Like we last episode we talked about how 1% of your day is 15 minutes.
Yeah.
6 minutes is less than 1%, and that's the day in a whole week.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. So I think we need to, and we'll talk about this little concept later in a later biscuit, but we just got to quit the excuses a bit, hey, and just try and start getting amongst.
Exactly. You don't even have to do a push-up. You just go lie down on the ground and then get back up again.
Train, man. Also, mobility is important. So I think looking into some, some mobilization type exercises and doing this strength to be mobile as well. Like you just don't want to be in your 30s or 40s and just be struggling and straining to get up and down. And I think that's super important also.
Yeah.
So
that's
train.
Just go get active.
Get active. Be physical.
So the second letter is H in Thrive, and H stands for happy. It stands for positivity. And there's a lot to be said about just a positive mindset. We know our thoughts and the way we think become our words, and our words become our actions, and our actions become our habits, and our habits become our destiny. And if we start off with a poor mindset, a negative mindset, one that's unhappy, then we're going to have cascading effects that then therefore affect ourselves physiologically. The stress hormone cortisol, right, produced when we're stressed, obviously, but when we're also unhappy as well, that can have a massive impact on, for me, which was one I've had a little bit of look at. Asians are predisposed to carry fat around their waist, and increases in cortisol increase the storage of fat around our Asian descent race. So cortisol and stress. If we flip it and we have a happy and positive mindset, we can reduce cortisol increase serotonin, one of the feel-good neurotransmitters, which has a whole lot of mood benefits.
Yeah.
Helps with your sleep, etc. So just having good positive mindset, and it's also to add on to positive mindset. Positive mindset is really key to a whole bunch of other areas of in our Life Biscuits program, right? Like,
for sure.
In our cultivation, in our self-control.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta be. It's easy to say, when I'm sad, I'll just be happy. But at the same time, we really have to just try to fake it till you make it and force yourself to be happy. And and it's easier said than done, but if you just have that, like, how people say, you envision and you become the essence of who you are is manifested.
Yeah.
And I guess if you believe and have that positive mindset, you can manifest that, I guess, through your body of being like, and you just become happy. Yeah. And I think I'm saying this from a privileged point of view, because I think both you and I have never really had the black dog of depression. I've been sad before, but never really had a chronic kind of depression. So my apologies if that's a touchy position to have about just being positive and having a positive mindset.
We're aware of that concept of toxic positivity, but at the same time, I speak from this aspect because I've really put it to the test, and I would encourage other people to put it to the test. And I run little tests with myself in my life kind of all the time, which is a cool thing to do, and I really enjoy doing that. And if you want to know more about that, then get in touch with us, because we can talk about it. But there's more to being happy, H for happy, than just
being happy.
There's lots of positive emotion, and when we say choose positive emotion, all right. So obviously, joy and happiness and whatnot, but also
those are supplemented by some other, key kinds of behavior like resilience and gratitude.
Exactly, and being interested in things and loving and having hope. And we'll talk about this one in the V of Thrive, but responding to life with awe, and just being in awe of things, humor, doing good things, just having sense of satisfaction. These are all kind of positive emotions which we can choose, but the key is here. Martin Seligman, who is kind of the real driver in the positive psychology realm, which is a big, over the last kind of 30 years, a very big field of psychology, growing, wrote a very well-known book called Learned Optimism. And as the title suggests, like, this is it's not something, well, some people are predisposed to be more optimistic than others, and that's fine, but the beauty of our minds is that they can be rewired. All right, we're not set in stone. Our brain is, plastic. This neuroplasticity field, which again is, relatively recent. We've got to train. Yeah, we've got to practice. As I say, I run little tests, and I do this quite often when I'm up in the office, down to my office, opposite end of the school. It's probably 450 steps. All right, each way. I'll just go, I'll try and go around break time, so that there's kids out. And rather than head down and look down, I try and look up, and I just look at making eye contact with kids and smiling at them. And it's just, man, it's amazing what you can do with a smile.
Infectious, contagious.
You'll get smiles back. I don't think anyone ever doesn't smile back. And just some, just some really easy words on people in passing, and your spirit, you can feel your spirit rise in those 450 steps, and it can literally change your life. I could go down and put my head down and dwell on my stresses that I'm going through that day or whatever it might be, but I've made the choice to, and I would challenge other people to give that sort of thing a go as well. They say motion leads emotion. So if I act with proactivity, right? With motion. So I'm motioning myself towards happiness by standing up, getting my shoulders back, good posture, smiling, eye contact, being intentional. Then that leads this positive emotion. I've got hormones running through my body that are telling me, hey man, this feels good, keep going. And that's just going to have a natural snowball
Positive
effect.
feedback loop, yeah, exactly.
You mentioned resilience, which I think is important. You know, we talked about being selfish last time, and the one reason to be selfish is to grow ourselves. We'll talk about confidence later in a future biscuit, our confidence biscuit. And that's super important to build for that resilience factor. So we'll talk more about that in the future. You also mentioned gratitude.
Yeah.
And man,
I find that it's not that people are grateful are happy. It's not that happy people are grateful. People who are grateful end up being happy.
Yeah.
And it's just understanding that, and it's about, you know, a bit of the isness that is life and being in awe. But I don't know, man, being alive is just feels good.
It does.
And just being grateful to understand, and understanding that, hey man, I've got some, we're both from Australia, and we live in a fairly privileged society. And we have really good relationships around us, and I find it easy to find those small things that I'm really grateful that really make a, you know, meaningful difference to my life. And everybody can find something that just adds depth and value to their life.
Yeah, and I think
not taking it for granted. Yeah,
intentional practice in this is important as well. Like when I first started, I'd be like, I'm, you know, in my journal, I'm grateful for my family. You know, and there's these very broad general things, and then after 3 days you're like, I'm done. Like I've written 20 things that I'm grateful for, and I'm like, what else is there? And it's really grown and expanded into just the tiniest things.
Exactly, the
like,
interactions, or the way somebody did, interacted with me.
Yeah, or the way you just saw the sun reflect off a leaf or something, and like you just went, wow, that's cool. I'm going to write about that later. And it just brings this whole new perspective to life. You're just on the lookout for these little magic moments that pop up every now and then. And I'm also finding myself writing things like, I'm grateful for the opportunity to work on this, you know, because I found that I was lacking in an area, or I was found wanting in some respect. And so, hey, I'm grateful for that opportunity that now I can...
Even if it's a challenging opportunity that really forces us to reflect or work on something.
Yeah. And the last thing for be happy, which I've got here, unless you've got anything else there, Lowy, but is to ditch resentment. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, I decided that I was kind of holding on to some resentment in a range of different, like just in my mind. Yeah. And I was just like, no, I've just got to ditch it. Yeah. And just,
liberating.
Totally, it's liberating. Like, and you'll find yourself falling into those little traps again, but you just remind yourself that, no, I haven't signed up for this. I'm choosing the positive emotions that come from it. So things happen to us in life where negative emotions come, and that's okay. And sometimes we need to feel those, and we need to experience those. We need to see them through. Doesn't mean we need to necessarily, act in certain ways because of them. But sometimes they do come when they don't need to be there. So we've got to be able to recognise that as well.
All right. In Thrive stands for rest and rejuvenate. And I've been pretty terrible at this lately. Not getting enough sleep. And it's more than just sleep, but to start with, rest and sleep. And when we talk about our vehicle, which is our body, and our vehicle takes some knocks and bumps, and we need to really look after it and let it recover, because if we continue to wear and tear it without letting it recover and rejuvenate, it'll wear down and then it'll break. And so having that regular recovery session, whether it's getting good sleep, good 8 hours of sleep, good deep REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, where it's good quality, is really important for the longevity of our body. Yeah,
for sure. We can kind of think that we can just keep going sometimes. I know
especially when you're young, hey?
Yeah, for sure.
The midnight oil.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going through this currently 8-year period in my life, from having 3 kids, that sleep is relatively rare in terms of, consistent sleep is relatively rare. And I went through a phase there where I'm like, okay, all I need is 5 hours of broken sleep, and I can power on. And then we went through a phase last year, or no, it was 2019. Feels like last year, but 2020 was
2020, hey.
crazy. But 2019, when there was just lots and lots of coughing in the house with what turned out to be asthma, and it was just keeping us awake for hours and hours and hours. Like, you'd fall asleep 10 minutes and this just cough would rattle through the house, and so you'd spark up, and before you knew it, we were all down with the flu. Our bodies just got so run down. Kids, because they weren't sleeping because of the coughing that was going on, and then my wife and I weren't sleeping, and so we all got the flu, and we got it pretty bad just because our body did not recover. It didn't get the rest that it needed, and that really was the eye opener for me, that how important it is for sleep. Like, before that, I'm like, man, I can deal with limited sleep, and I mean, sometimes I have to, but if I can, I'll prioritize sleep for sure now. Try and get it.
Big quality of life impact there. Like, invest in those 8 hours to really maximize the benefits of those other whatever hours it is.
And I mean, granted, people do need different levels of sleep, I think. Like, our eldest child seems to be some sort of freak of nature, Energizer bunny, who just, no matter what happens, is just pinging. Sorry, that's probably not the best term. And then, the middle one is the opposite. Like, just, she needs her sleep big time. But for the general population, I think an important thing to talk about, which I'm sure you're aware of, is what impact are screens and that kind of light having on our ability to rest deeply and get that important deep sleep. I think science would tell us to.
They're all negative. I mean, like, you got to have a good sleep hygiene routine where we put those devices down. I feel like
a couple of hours before we actually
those screen time, cut it out.
So we've tried to make a little charging station for our phones here, which is kind of out in the hallway, so that they're not out here when we're out here with the girls, and they're not in the bedroom or anything. So that so home is kind of trying to be more of a ditch-free zone in terms of just faces in screens and whatnot. So hopefully that'll work out a little bit. Just got to remember to turn the charging station on. Been burnt by that sucker a couple of times already. So rest well and rejuvenate.
And it's not just for recovery as well, it's for that growth. And we talk about athletes bodybuilders who are trying to grow massive muscles, they also need their sleep, because that's when growth happens. Hey,
for sure. And
so
I think
recovery and growth,
and for our brains
as well. Exactly. Great segue, mate.
Great segue. We're good at segueing at the moment.
Which leads us on to the next letter, which is intellectual.
Develop our
intellect. Develop our intellectual health or intellect. I've stopped playing gridiron football because I want to protect my brain. And if we're really focusing on longevity, we've got to, like, the body, the physical body is the thing that moves and gets us places, but the control center, the old noggin, we also need to place just as high priority on that as well. And so focusing on the intellect, developing those new neural pathways and keeping that brain functioning and like a muscle, right? Because our brain is not literally a muscle, but acts like a muscle. And working on improving our intellectual health, right? Intellect is so important for the longevity of our condition.
Man, the brain, isn't it insane?
Yeah, crazy.
Like, if you're just looking at some brain facts, just go on Google brain facts, and like, if you want your brain to explode a little bit, not literally, but holy cow, unbelievable. And the science that's come, that we're finding more and more about it, and it's just absolutely awe-inspiring, in my opinion. So yeah, cognitively stimulating that growth, forming these new neural pathways, developing habits, being intentional about what we want to do, breaking bad habits and whatnot. Use it or lose it. Our brain will start pruning away these connections that aren't used, and it'll start building new connections that we want to develop. And the more we build them, the faster that signal's traveling, the stronger the connection, and the better we're going to be doing for our intellect moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also much to be said about delaying the onset of neurological diseases that come with age. Like if you're people who are intellectually or cognitively active, they're see less frequencies of early onset dementia and Alzheimer's. And I've been into some homes and helped out with the dementia clinics, and it's really sad to see that kind of disease. And anything we can do to get the most out of our life, our potential, by doing these intellectual, cognitively stimulating activities like building new neural pathways, so important. Longevity. Yeah,
for sure, absolutely. Develop our intellect. We obviously spoke about cultivate last week, and so this one links directly to that, being intentional about building these new neural pathways and growing ourselves. V, I really love this one.
Me too.
It's just that kind of a little bit more spacey and a little bit more like airy-fairy and hippie and whatnot, but I'm totally into it. And that is vitalize. So the definition, if you were to go to Webster or Merriam or whatever, would tell you that to vitalize is to give life to bring life to something. And we want to just give life to us and our lives. And so that's why we've got that in condition, because for our sort of spiritual health and for our real vitality, and for us to thrive, I think we need this real kind of soul deepening perspective. Not just going, I am man, I will eat food. But that we've got this real connection to others and connection to the environment that is real and can really add something to our lives.
And I think most people, maybe I can't say most people, but been able to experience just that feeling of like aliveness. I think I'm a afternoon/late evening person, and I often feel like just really good, like when it's sun setting and you're just like, I don't know, your skin feels like senses are heightened. You're just like, you almost feel like you've got an endorphin high, but you haven't been running or anything, and you feel a bit of a breeze going on, and you're just like, whoa, that's the stuff.
I'm feeling it now, Larry, like just from listening to you talk to it. It sounds weird, but I mean, just that moment. I'm semi famous in my family, one because I'm the only male, but no, from just this quote, which is just life, and I just love saying that. Like I'll just be like, particularly when there's that, you're just outside, you're amongst life. It's not kind of man-made life, but even though that it brings me awe as well, like New York City blows my mind. But just stepping outside, it was kind of warm inside after dinner, and the sun was going down, and we went outside for a play after dinner, and it was just like, going on. And the breeze is coming through after a hot day, and you just
that breeze, that's the thing. Hey,
it's so good.
I really hope the listeners have, at least in some point in their life felt that moment that we're trying to describe. I've read this book by Sarah Wilson, This One Wild and Precious Life, and she talks about the isness of the moment, I think vitalize and being with the environment that you're in and just experiencing your place in the cosmos of the universe, and just accepting that you're one. It's like it's such a I don't know, it just makes me feel good. And I imagine if we go out and experience those moments, then they're surely going to have a positive effect on our condition. Because every time, when it starts to get a little bit darker and it turns into nighttime, it usually wears off for me. But I just feel so alive at that point in time.
Yeah, and I mean, as for someone who like is a sort of faith-filled person, just going out into creation from my point of view, and just being in awe of the billions
big
of
positive benefits,
billions of kind of cells that make up us and that are surrounding you, like in the grass and in the soil and in everything that's there is just so intricate and complex, and it's all just working together. And if you can just get that aspect of life, I tell you what, can be very, very good for us.
Yeah, and there's been studies of the color green, where people in hospital who have a tree outside their room have shown increased rates of recovery as opposed to patients who've had just a brick wall. They do. There's this forest bathing where people go out and walk in the forest. I think it's much more common in Japan, but same sort of positive benefits for their condition in their body. I think there was one of the Scandinavian countries, South Korean countries. South Korea literally sends its kids who need some rehabilitation into the forests, with camps to work on their.
I think there were some American psychological clinics that recommended as part of it, part of treatment for mental health and whatnot as well.
Vitalize. Another quick little point. Plug for Disney's Pixar movie Soul. There's a moment in there that really encapsulates what we're talking about with Vitalize.
Yeah, okay, cool. So, I'll have to check that out and get my free trial. So a couple of things that we could go on to talk about, just that concept of mindfulness and being present, but also, which, I mean, I've never been good at. This is on my habit tracker almost for the last 2 months anyway, and meditating. I still haven't got my skills down.
Me too, man.
And I know that they say the point is just to do it. The point is that you'll be crap at it. But that there's benefits in that. And then that made me. Sorry, your last point made me think about old Hugh Jackman, who we're a big fan of in our house. What a legend! But I listened to a podcast with him, and he was saying how he just goes out and sits on the balcony or whatever and just looks out, and he every time he goes out there he just sees something new. Like whether it's a new leaf on a tree or a new something.
Different shaped cloud.
Just getting out there and just being part of life and being connected to it and taking notice sort of thing was really cool. So there's our V for Vitalize, and a pretty cool one that we would encourage you to just try and lean into.
Our last letter for Thrive is Energize. And Energize is really about the food that we eat, the energy that we fuel ourselves with. They say you are what you eat. And if we want to have a life that is long and prosperous, we've got to really monitor what we put into our bodies. All right. What do we fuel our machine? If we're fueling it with poor foods, then poor outcomes, right? So, there's been plenty of diets going around and whatnot, but to keep it pretty simple, hey, just eat less processed foods, or reduce the amount of processed foods. National guidelines: 2 fruit, 5 veg, pretty good starting point. Less sugar. There's a lot of statistics on how sugar is not so good for your overall health. And I don't think we really need it. I'm sweet as it is, you know what I'm saying?
Right. I didn't see that coming, but definitely. I get sucked in, to be honest, for the no sugar things, because I'm like, I know sugar's bad, and they're like, oh, Coke no sugar. this is fine, and yogurt, no sugar. I'm smart enough to know that there's other stuff going on there that probably there's not enough research on yet to show the tremendously poor health effects that they have. So definitely sticking to, that real raw kind of, not literally raw, but just that
wholesome just
foods,
fresh
those whole foods,
veggies, fruit.
So that's starting point. More fruit and veg, less sugar. And I mean, we could go on to talk about the increased risks of cardiovascular disease and death and neurological problems related to, sugar and the
diabetes,
kind of
insulin,
highs and lows
insulin dependency, whatnot.
Exactly, that they cause, and the inflammation that they cause, and the impact they have on our gut health and our behaviour and emotions. Like, man.
And we'll definitely touch on it in future podcast episodes.
For sure.
Different diets and intermittent fasting, whole can of worms that we can open up there. But to keep it fairly simple, energize. We've got to be, careful about what we put in, and we just got to have that emphasis and focus on fueling our bodies correctly. Yeah,
definitely. Hydration. My latest smartwatch here has a hydration tracker, which I've quite enjoyed. Just adding my.
Does it log the amount of liquids that you drink, or do you have to
by how many times I can sweeten my wrist? No, I've just got to swipe to the thing and then add the however many mils I drank. But
he's got a fast rotations per minute on his hand. He's swigging that water.
Input what you're drinking. No, and so that's helped me kind of. I think I went through a phase there. I used to be obsessed with drinking water back in high school, university days. Like, it was probably a little, like, officially, mentally, like, it was probably a problem, to be honest. And then I kind of moved past that and went through a phase where I don't think I was drinking enough. And I really think I honestly think it's super important to drink good quantities of water, like not too much. You don't want to get that sort of hyponatremia type condition, but I think
I find if you're thirsty, the effects of dehydration have already started to kick in, and you're not at your maximum potential, which is what optimum potential is, which is what Life Biscuits is about, being able to perform and living your life to your potential.
Yeah, so anyway, again, in future things we can talk about things like meal planning and prep and all that sort of stuff to try and make this thing a little bit easier for us.
To digest, would you say?
Exactly. But that's Energize, right? I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about with that. It's pretty basic.
We can touch on that. Yeah, exactly.
I did want to a shout out to one of my mates' wives. I won't name names, but I'm just feeling for her at the moment. Went through nothing really physically wrong with her, but for whatever reason got some tests run and found out that she had a variety of autoimmune disease, celiac disease, lactose intolerance. Like, she didn't even, she loves these things,
cheese and gluten.
Like as good food lovers do, and really rocked her, to the core, that she's in a couple of days these test results came back, and her life needs to change, which obviously people get worse news than that in the world, but I'm starting to think like maybe I should, because I've
maybe just find out
what am I eating that's probably not so good for me, and that I should probably cut out, and what are we going to find out in 15 years that I shouldn't have been eating for all this time. So I think she'll really reap the benefits of what she will go on to eat, and I might get stuck back here or eating the wrong things for a while, but I need to take our own advice here and just really keep it to that whole food type thing. I think that's hard to go wrong with.
So the dunk?
Yeah,
the dunk.
Wait.
What?
No, wait.
Okay.
I think we should mention something about meat.
Yeah.
Like, I think we should say, do what you do, but like I'm a meat eater,
Yeah.
and you've toed and froed,
Yeah.
and are going full veggie.
I've committed to full vegetarian from this point forward.
Yeah.
Not exactly this point, a couple of months, 2 months now. So.
And good on you. But it's probably worth saying, like, I think it can be generally agreed that as Australians, for one,
or
that
Western
we should,
societies.
Western societies for a whole, that we should eat less meat.
Yeah.
I think if you're strongly disagreeing to that, then we would kind of challenge you to go and look into it a little bit.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons that might sway your decision behind it, and I just think I mean, for me, I've got my values that vegetarianism really aligns to, but there's also something to be said about reducing the consumption that we have, and then being able to, control what we eat, because it's really a choice, like what we put into our bodies. And Energize is all about controlling what we put in. And if we're just like, oh man, I love ribs and steaks, and I'm just going to smash them in and constantly just because they're delicious and whatnot, I think that goes against what Energize is about, and I think that should go against what Life Biscuits is about. I mean, in terms of thinking of outside of your just self.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if just choosing a selfish internally, just like, it's just about me feeling good because I've eaten delicious food that that is just pure meat.
Succulent.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I don't mean to tempt you.
I mean, I think back to the days when I went to a wings joint. I won't name any places, and I'd smash out buckets of wings, like 30 wings, and it was tasty, but at the same time, like, did I need to eat 30? Did I need to gorge myself?
I've been terrible for that in the past. The last kind of boys' night I went to, I did exactly the same thing. They're like, let's get wings. This was a few years ago. Let's get wings. I'm like, get me 30.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it.
30 wings.
And I think 15 chickens had to die. And, I don't do it just solely for the animal ethics. There's a whole bunch of other reasons. But, I think being able to control ourselves and just making a conscious decision to think outside of the selfish reasons of, meat consumption and gorging ourselves. And then there's also the WHO talked about red meat as being a potential carcinogen, not causation, but there's links to increased risk of cancer and whatnot. So say what you will about meat, but for me it's just a choice that I'm choosing to make, and I think hopefully you guys as listeners can be I'm not sure if progressive is the word, but just conscious of the things that you put into your body, and make decisions that are aligned to what your values are, which is a good segue before dunk, but because compass is our next biscuit.
It is. We've got to know what we're aligned to and where we're headed.
Yes.
So for the dunk, challenge some snack size fitness.
Yeah.
So sort of look at your day there and think, where can I get, where can I drop and give myself one or more push-ups? Where can I maybe
doesn't even have to be a push-up. Just get yourself back up.
Yeah,
a little half burpee.
Some sneaky squats, or maybe one of those 7-minute exercise apps, something.
Or could even just be a bit of flexibility, mobility. Just stretch for a bit. Exactly.
Stretch for a while. It's made a big difference. I'm feeling a lot more mobile because of the stretching. I've got that on my habit tracker.
Nice.
And I am stretching most, if not every day. And on that, we'd say never miss twice. James Clear, no 0 days from Acuff, I think. John Acuff, perhaps. Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know.
Anyway, work out, don't skip days. Happy, easiest one is to just smile, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Dunk this condition, smile. And
be proactive with that.
Exactly, work out.
Choose positive emotion.
Work out
the
those
variety
smiling muscles. Get as much sleep as you can to really recover. And I'm not saying 23 hours out of your 24 hours, but just get good quality sleep, maybe turn off your device a little earlier, get into a good habit of having good sleep hygiene.
Try and black that room out as well if you have that privilege.
Yeah.
They've done studies that even even one little beam of light in your room can really disrupt your sleep.
Yeah.
And so if you can go full blackout mode, that has been shown to have great benefits for sleep.
For the intellect, I we're smashing out a lot of dunks here, and we're not saying you have to do every single one, but maybe touch on some under each of these areas. But go learn something new. I think is amazing for intellect. I mean, the world has just so much cool stuff, right? Like juggling, play a musical instrument.
I'm learning the guitar.
Yeah, boy. Nice.
So my challenge for this year is to play Drive by Incubus.
Nice.
It's pretty tough. I'm a month in and I've got the first bit pretty slow.
Yeah.
But I am working, like I'm trying to do it every day, but it's kind of like a minute 30 every day.
Yeah.
Just while the kids are there, and then they're like, oh, someone's about to jump off a couch. I'll put the guitar down and go and save the child. But at least I've done a rep for the day on that.
Callousing those fingers.
Yeah,
boy.
And I've got a bit of Wonderwall going as well.
Nice.
So look out, world.
So learn a new skill. Just find something new to do. Hey.
Yeah. Even if it's reading and writing.
Yeah. Vitalize. Honestly, I think this one's easy to do. It's just being really mindful of the environment that you're in and just trying to
just see the awesomeness that
exactly.
is life and how just awe-inspiring the planet Earth is.
I mean, and if you haven't experienced what we're talking about, that moment, go for a hike in a forest or a park. Get some green. Yeah. And then last one, energize the dunk. Just make sure you know what you put in your body. Hopefully you're going to choose whole foods, more fruit, more veg, and more water so that you're staying hydrated. Less sugar, less processed stuff.
Yeah, boy. Cool. Thanks, gang. It's been wild. You can get in touch with us at lifebickies at gmail.com. That's bickies with 2 Ks.
Yep.
Check us out on social media, on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And you can also check out lifebiscuits.com, where you can sign up to our email newsletter, and you may have come across our podcast there. Yeah.
So next podcast episode is on Compass, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be a good one. All right.
See ya.
See you, folks. Time to go.
So delicious.
I'm feeling full.
Yum yum in my tum tum.
Gotta digest them bickies.